Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another live stream. Well, we'll be discussing the best ways to get scholarships this 2024-2025 school year, what you need to know about, every single type of financial aid and scholarship available for students. And at the end, we will be revealing the best type of scholarships and financial aid for college. So without further ado, I'm here with Francisco.
Yes, welcome. Happy to be here like we are every week. Let us know in the comments if this is your first time joining one of these live streams. We will be monitoring it real time. And yeah, just wanted to express how happy I am to do this every week. If this is your first time joining us, do know that we do these live streams every week. And basically, we pick out a topic that is relevant to whatever is going on currently in the world of college admissions. So because all of our seniors are applying to college right now, and they're trying to not only get accepted, but put the bases down so that when the time comes, they have enough funding to pay for their education. Today, we will be precisely talking about that. How does financial aid and scholarships work in this country, right? So I see Fofi972 saying that is their first time joining the live stream. Jez2012 is saying first time, perfect. So the reason why we ask for these type of comments is so that when we are going through examples or covering the material, because we have people that are joining us for the first time, we will be extra explicit about things that maybe we have covered in previous weeks. But again, the whole point of this is to help your student get scholarships for college. That's basically the summary of today's presentation. So why don't we get started, Laura?
Yeah, so as you guys can see on the screen, 4 types of financial aid and scholarships. It's important before you try to decipher or start applying or try to navigate the college admissions process, it's important to understand that there are 4 types of financial aid and scholarships available, and how it's important to know how they work, where students can apply, when can students and parents apply to get them, because each type of scholarships does have a different process for students to apply for. And also there are different things that students should be doing at different points in time to maximize their odds of receiving each type of financial aid and scholarship. So it's important to know these. And as I said at the end, we're going to answer the question or, let you know what the best type of financial aid and scholarship is for students. So we will kind of reveal that at the end.
Right.
So, let's get started with something that is super relevant at the moment because, FAFSA is, some students have access to the FAFSA right now. And come December 1st, hopefully every parent and every student will have access to this form. But let's get started with the most popular and the most known type of financial aid, which is the federal aid.
Right. And just so that we are all on the same page, when we say federal aid, basically what it means is a wide array or different types of financing vehicles that your student have access to pay for college, right? So when your son or daughter fills out the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA, the way that it works is it will ask you questions about your finances and your tax returns from 2 years prior. And basically with this information, the federal government will come up with something called the SAI number, the Student Aid Index. And this number is basically going to represent a picture, a snapshot of your family's financial makeup. So different entities, but primarily because we're focusing on federal aid, the federal government is going to look at this number and say, oh, okay, this family has a student aid index of blank amount. And they will be able to see, okay, so they're automatically eligible for a Pell Grant, which again, because we have a lot of people joining for the first time, grants don't have to be paid back. It's just, you can think of it as free money. Or they could qualify for something called the Federal Work Study Program, where they are basically guaranteed to get a job by the federal government while they are at school. And typically these are student jobs that are more flexible, right? So that's also a type of federal financial aid for college. Then there's also lower interest loans, right? So again, here at Best College Aid, we always advise against, or we reserve loans as the final or last resort to pay for a student's education. Nonetheless, if we are in a position in which we have to take out loans to finance our education, we always want to start with federal loans. Why? Because, whatever policies come out in the future about loan forgiveness or whatever or whenever it comes down to the interest that you're paying on the principal of the loan, they are always going to be more favorable when they're subsidized by the federal government. So these are the loans that come or that are offered through the federal government for students who fill the FAFSA and qualify. And again, if we are in that last resort position where we have to take out loans, we want to do so, or we want to first look at loans that are offered by the federal government rather than private institutions or state aid. Obviously, look at the fine print. Obviously, look at, how long the loan is, the interest, all the different qualities, but wanted to make sure that we understood the types of aid or federal aid that is unlocked by filling out the FAFSA. And maybe you can elaborate as to who qualifies and when they should fill it out.
Exactly. So federal aid, who qualifies for the FAFSA? Let's talk about the basic requirements, which is going to be students who are citizens, U.S. citizens, U.S. residents, and people who qualify under the eligible non-U.S. citizen category will have access to the FAFSA and will be allowed basically and will be able to fill out this form. Obviously, a lot of people were asking in a comment section of a video that we posted last week if there is a limit on an income limit for to fill out the FAFSA. There is no income limit. There's never been one. And a lot of people have this misconception or think that because they're maybe both parents work or one of their parents makes I don't know, a lot of money, they will not qualify for federal aid. But it's important to know that and to remember that, yes, while the FAFSA is used to determine the amount of federal aid a student could potentially receive, or if they are eligible to receive federal loans, the FAFSA is also used for other things, private entities, universities, some determine how much financial aid students could receive. So maybe your student might not, qualify or might not get any federal aid, but it's important to fill out this form, especially for the other types of aids that we will be discussing later on in this presentation. Oftentimes, the FAFSA will be necessary for students to qualify for these other types of financial aid. So, the rule is if your student qualifies for the FAFSA, if they are a citizen, U.S. resident, or eligible non-U.S. citizen, fill it out. It never hurts. You would be surprised on how many people leave money on the table because they decide or they assume that they won't qualify and they miss out on getting scholarships and financial aid for college.
Right, which takes us to the next point. When scholarships are awarded, they're going to be awarded for one of two reasons, as stated, whether because there is financial need. And again, the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, is going to assess whether there is financial need by whatever criteria is established. But then the other sorts of awards that are given out are based on merit. And it could be academic merit, extracurricular merit. And moving along with the presentation, the next type of aid usually is very tight or very closely related to the merit of the student. And those awards are state scholarships and state aid. And basically the way or the main point that we want to cover in this presentation is that every state is going to have different policies, and we're not going to be able to cover all 50 states right now in this live stream. But basically the way that it works is different state governments are going to have programs in place with different requirements. So here in Florida, there is the Florida Bright Futures program that has a threshold that has to be met, or requirements that have to be met as far as the minimum SAT or ACT or GPA or volunteer hours required to be able to or to be eligible for these awards, right? New York has the New York Tuition Assistance Program. California has the Cal Grant. So basically what we want to do here is, okay, where do I live? Am I going to go to college, or is my student going to go to college within the state that I went to high school where I live? And if so, what are the programs in place? And again, Google is your friend. Here is where we have to get, where we have to start looking at things like that and say, okay, based on the state where I live, if my student is in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, how does my student compare or stack up, or how are they positioned in terms of where they're at in terms of merit and the accolades that they have collected throughout the years versus what is the minimum threshold to qualify for these state-sponsored programs. So for those of you who are watching who have students in 9th, 10th, or 11th grade, well, the good news is you don't have to apply for the scholarships yet. You don't have to worry about that typically until senior year for these state scholarships. But what you do have to worry about is, okay, I'm going to proactively start looking at what these requirements are so that I can start working right now in terms of the AP classes that I'm taking or the grades that I'm getting or preparing for the SAT or ACT, so that when the time comes to fill out the forms that are typed, because they also in a lot of states come with requirements as far as not just the merit, but also you have to sit down and fill out this form, right?
Yep.
So that when that time comes, you have the requisites or you have satisfied the prerequisites to be able to earn and be eligible for those scholarships, right? So that's the main point that we wanted to cover as far as state-sponsored programs and state awards.
Yeah, state aid, talking about back to the example of Florida Bright Futures, it's important that you get familiar with the opportunities in your state and you see what the requirements are. For example, for Florida Bright Futures, there's different scholarships or different tiers of I guess based on merit. There is, I'm just going to read them out loud here, just to give some examples if we have any Florida people watching. There's the Florida Academic Scholar, FAS, which the requirements for that is going to be different, the academic requirements, than FMS, which is the Florida Medallion Scholars. The Florida Medallion Scholars, the SAT requirement is slightly lower than the FAS, the Academic Scholars, but that is because the Florida Academic Scholars, that has a 3.5 GPA requirement, that is going to cover 100% of a public school tuition. So it's like a higher award. So knowing these little things and knowing these differences, these specific requirements about state scholarships, the earlier is better, because students can kind of navigate high school and have a goal, have a plan. And also it's important to remember and to keep in mind that every state is going to be different. The requirements in every state and the types of state aid available are going to vary from state to state. So what's available in Florida might and will probably not be available in other states. There might be similar programs in California, in Texas, New Jersey, New York, etc. But that's why it's super important to know these things and to get familiar with the different types of financial aid and scholarships. So, all right, so we covered two. We covered federal aid. We just covered state aid. So let's go ahead and talk about the next type of financial aid and scholarships available for students in the U.S. And this is private aid. Right.
So as the name suggests, and as you can probably imagine, private awards come from entities. They can be charities, they can be donors, they can be churches, they can be companies. And basically, these private entities will set up a fund and will offer students the opportunity to qualify to these scholarships. And the thing is, because they're private, they get to do whatever the heck they want as far as requirements and as far as eligibility, right? So there are different search engine tools. Inside Best College Aid, we teach our students to use, Scholly, FastWeb, scholarships.com. The College Board has a search engine tool as well for private scholarships. But basically what we want to do here, and the recommendation here for those of you watching, is to make sure to, same as with state aid, all the variables that you can control as far as eligibility, to make sure you control them and set yourself up to be as eligible as possible for as many awards as possible, right? So if Comcast is going to have a Young Leaders Scholarship that they give out to students who have extracurricular activities, but also leadership position within those activities, okay, well, that is the time for your student, if they're in 9th, 10th, 11th grade, to enroll in extracurricular activities so that any private scholarship that has a prerequisite of having a leadership position, they are eligible for. When it comes to GPA, the higher the GPA, the more scholarships that have a GPA threshold they would qualify for, right? And this goes on and on and on. So again, it seems very basic and intuitive to be, okay, be a high profile student and you are going to be eligible for private scholarships. But it is true, that is half the battle, to be eligible for them. The other half is to proactively look for them, apply to them, and it's kind of going to be practice for a professional career. They're going to be looking for a corporate job. You're going to have to send out a lot of applications before you get a response and before you get accepted to whatever company you want to work for. Private scholarships, once the student is done with, those college applications or parallel to them, they should be spending their time applying for private scholarships that they find through these search engine tools. The more specific and niche and more of hurdles that they have to go through to be eligible for a scholarship, the more worth their while it is. Why? Because if a student is applying to a scholarship that doesn't even have an essay requirement or a GPA requirement or it's kind of like a lottery. Odds are that it sounds phony. They might have a lot of competition, and it might be like a raffle, so chances are low there. But if they have to have a GPA requirement, an interview, an essay, and you have to have specific inclination for a specific career, well, all of a sudden, instead of competing against thousands upon thousands of other applicants, you're competing against hundreds or can't speak tonight. Tens of other students, right? So the competition is way less, right? So that is kind of what we want to have in mind when it comes to private scholarships. And also remember the fact that a student can start applying for private scholarships as early as 9th grade. And they can continue to apply to private scholarships. Usually it's going to climax how many there are, or the amount of scholarships that they're eligible to apply for around 11th or 12th grade. Nonetheless, once they graduate high school, they can still continue to apply for private scholarships using the search engine tools well into their college career, freshman, sophomore, junior year of college. So very important to supplement or add, sprinkle a few private scholarship, private awards in your financial aid award package from private entities, right? But everything that we mentioned, federal aid, state aid, private aid, they collectively make up less than half of all of the financial aid and scholarships that were distributed last year to students. Why? Because more than half, around 53% of all the awards that students received last year to pay for their education came from the following source, from institutional awards. And that is the fourth, final, and most important or most worthwhile type of financial aid and scholarship, because it is the biggest bang for buck, right? What I mean by institutional aid or institutional awards is financial aid and scholarships that are given or distributed by the academic institutions, colleges, and universities that your student will be attending, right? So they can be distributed for one of two reasons: for financial need, so similar to, you fill out the FAFSA or the CSS profile, the federal government, but in this case, the institution gets a snapshot of your family's finances. Well, based on this, all of a sudden you're eligible to receive XYZ University scholarship for students who make less than blah, 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 blah amount. Or in parallel, you can also qualify for the presidential scholarship for students that took above XYZ of AP classes and got XYZ credits and had a GPA higher than whatever, right? The trick here, or the important component here, is to understand that even though there is around a universe of 4,000 accredited universities within the United States, not all of them are going to offer the same level of generosity when it comes to their institutional awards. What we teach our students is at Best College Aid, and what I want you to get out of this live stream is the fact that one of the most important things is the selection process of your student going from a universe of 4,000 institutions to their final list of 8 to 12 colleges and universities that they'll be applying to. Why? Because not all of them are going to offer the career path that they want to pursue. Not all of them are going to have the same level of generosity. What we teach our students is if they don't satisfy at least 75% of the demonstrated financial need of the household, then there is almost no point in applying to those schools, because what's the point of getting acceptance and then just turning around and have that school tell you, oh yeah, and by the way, you're going to have to pay $50,000 to get a degree from this institution after 4 years, right? Or for $50,000 a year, $200,000 after 4 years to get a degree from this institution, right? We wouldn't want to do that. We want to set ourselves up so that we're only applying to generous universities, and then those generous universities all offer you a generous financial aid and award package that you can then compare between acceptances. If 5, 4, 6 schools accept you, you have a good problem in your hands because you have generous awards offered to you, and then you can negotiate, right? That is the best approach when it comes to institutional aid. But it all starts with planning ahead, because students who don't take this into consideration before they make their list of colleges and before they apply to schools and before they get their acceptances, find out the hard way that they're not going to get aid. But students who take that into consideration when building that list of scholarship of schools that they're applying to have no surprises because they know where they are applying to as far as the levels of generosity. So I don't know if you want to add anything to institutional awards.
Yeah, no, it's super important, like you say, to be very particular, to start the process of creating a list of schools and to really dedicate a lot of time to that college search as early as possible, because the key to finding the right school and the key to getting accepted to a school that is going to give your student the highest amount of financial aid possible is to really dedicate time and to look for the opportunities that are right for your student. And the reason why these institutional aid is the highest type of aid in a student's financial aid package is because students are more often than not, and this is what happened to us in our specific situations and our financial aid packages. We were looking for the schools that offered exactly what we were looking for and that offered financial aid and scholarships for the extracurricular activities that we practiced. And that's the schools that were going to be generous and meet 100% of the financial need that we needed to go to school. In my case, for example, my list of colleges consisted of schools that had theater programs, musical theater, because that's what I did, and I knew that I wanted to not only continue to do theater in college, but I also wanted to potentially be able to win a scholarship for this. But I also knew that I didn't want to major in theater. That was just kind of like my sport, right? There are students who want to major in theater and who go to a conservatory school and do this for a career. I knew that I wanted to do it more like an extracurricular activity. So my list of colleges was very specific, and my search consisted of schools where I could continue to do theater, maybe get a scholarship, but not do it as my major. So these were little elements that I added to my college search. Obviously, I was looking for schools that met 100% of my financial need. I was looking for schools that also had big scholarship awards for students with my GPA profile, for students with the same or similar SAT and ACT scores to mine. So you do have to be very technical. I mean, it's not a process that's impossible or super hard. I mean, we really found a way to kind of teach our students in a very organized and very easy way to create your list of colleges, but you do have to dedicate some time to it, because the only way, again, to find these opportunities is by looking for them, and by knowing how to create your profile and look for the right colleges and universities. So institutional aid, it's the best type of financial aid, because most students who get close to full ride scholarships or very big financial aid award packages, the highest amount of financial aid is going to be coming from institutional aid. So
right. Yeah. So and it's not really the science is as complex or it doesn't get any more complex than just mixing all four types of financial aid and scholarships. That's the secret.
Yeah.
It's not a complicated, what I was trying to say, it's not rocket science. You fill out the forms that make you eligible to receive certain levels of financial aid and scholarships. If you don't qualify for need-based awards, you should still fill them out, because, for example, for institutional aid, even if you don't qualify for need-based awards from, the FAFSA or whatever school you're applying to, there's still merit that could earn you, merit-based awards at the institutional level or at the state level, but that have the prerequisite of you filling out these demonstrated need forms like the FAFSA or the CSS profile, that if you don't fill out, you self-disqualify, right? So the approach should always be do everything you can do to earn the awards, and then once it leaves your hands and it goes into some evaluation or federal government algorithm as to who qualifies for the Pell Grant, then okay, it's not a perfect system. They let them tell you, no, you don't get this award, but don't self-disqualify and don't put yourself in a position in which you miss out on money that you could otherwise be eligible to receive because you didn't fill out the necessary documentation. Or if you are in 9th, 10th, or 11th grade, you just didn't know that you had to take the PSAT seriously, or you know, even if the schools were test optionals, you should still try to study and prepare and get the highest, you know, scores for the SAT or ACT because you could qualify for other merit-based awards, right? So all these things are important. And if you combine federal, state, institutional, private scholarships, you're going to set yourself up infinitely better than if you neglect these and just go through the application process, applying to schools where your friends are going or without doing your due diligence, right? So that is the best recommendation. It's not a perfect system. A lot of people don't know what they don't know. So that is why I'm glad that you're watching these live streams, trying to do everything that you're possibly able to do to be able to qualify for as much aid and scholarships. Now, we do these live streams every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we try to share as much free information on these live streams, again, to make you aware of, oh, okay, well, I'm going to take this consideration when making my list of colleges, how generous they are, the percentage of demonstrated financial need that they satisfy, or fill out the FAFSA, CSS profile, Cal Grant, New York Tuition Assistance Program, right? So hopefully you are aware of those things. There are people, every time we finish this live stream, that ask us or DM us if we help people or if we have any sort of services to give a more detailed description of the entire process, not just, oh, what are the 4 types of financial aid and scholarships? So for those of you who are interested in something beyond this random free live stream that just popped into your timeline, we do have a membership that consists of the following components. First, once you create an account with us, you will have access to our platform, our website. You make a username and password, and the first thing you'll see inside our program is a 4-year high school planner that will tell you exactly what to do every day or every month of the 4 years of high school. And that is to know what to do, how to do it. So how to make sure that you have a final list of colleges that satisfy above 75% of the demonstrated financial need. Let's say that's your task for October of senior year. Well, it's corroborated or supplemented with our online courses that teach you how to do it, right? So if you're filling out the FAFSA, the CSS profile, looking for private scholarships, using the search engines that we told you about, whatever it is that you're completing, the tutorials are just a step-by-step, okay, here's how you do it. You follow along. However, when inevitably you have questions about what you are watching, you are able to reach out to us, our support team, and our set of counselors via the following components. You'll have access to unlimited online support via our written points of contact, our email, private Facebook group for members, and then the last Friday of every month, we have a Zoom session where we do Q&As, where we do follow-ups, where we do live demos, answering any question that is not already clear through, again, email and through the courses and through our program, right? So that is how we navigate, not charging the $10,000 that a private college counselor will charge you. We do it through the use of, again, these online resources, videos, our digital online support. And then we also include study materials for both the SAT and ACT in this membership, right? So again, the market for this, if you go on Google and you look for a private college counselor, they will, charge you $10,000 for the services to sit down with your student and do it all with them. We modeled our business to make it so that you will get the same information, even more on-demand support, because usually these counselors will say, oh, okay, book an appointment for next week or 2 weeks from now, whenever it's available. But here you get guaranteed responses and support within 24 hours from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And instead of charging $10,000, typically we have a cost of $997 for this program. But today until midnight, we are having a 40% off. So you can join today for a single payment of $597. Or you can divide it into payments. We have a payment plan for $197, and it's 4 monthly payments, right? So that is what Best College Aid is. We do have a 14-day money-back guarantee. If you join and you realize this is not something that works with my student or our, your model or the way that you teach things and ask questions and respond is not something that resonates with me, that's why we have our 14-day money-back guarantee. Because if it won't work for your student and we can't help you, then we don't want your money. Simple as that. So yeah, that is our Best College Aid membership. It's a lifelong membership. So if you have multiple students, yes, we update all the video and we update our counselors on whatever's going on with policy changes and whatnot, so that every year we can provide timely support, but also all the tutorials are updated depending on whatever happens in the world of college admissions and whatever happens with, new forms like the FAFSA that got changed last year and it's delayed now. All those things are taken into consideration, and the support and help will be available until your youngest student graduates from college. Okay, so it's a one-time payment for the lifelong membership. And that's what it includes. If you're interested, you can go to the link in our Instagram and TikTok bio, or you can go to our video description on Facebook and YouTube. It is below this video if you want to access that 40% off before midnight tonight. All right. So that's everything we wanted to share about the program. I don't know if you want to add anything else that I missed.
No, just clarifying, not clarifying, but reminding or letting you know that you can find this 40% off sale, so that you can join Best College Aid today with this special offer, this 40% off offer, by visiting the link in our bio if you happen to be watching us on Instagram and TikTok. And if you're watching us on YouTube and Facebook, I have shared the link in this the comment section, so you can go check it out and access this 40% off discount. Thank you so much for watching, guys. One unrelated comment too. We are in South Florida. We do have a lot of viewers who watch us from all over the country, but I know that we have audience that joins sometimes. They've told us from Tampa, the Tampa area, Sarasota, etc., Orlando. So if you happen to be in that area, we know that there's a hurricane coming, so hopefully you guys stay safe, and we hope that this storm passes and everybody is safe and there's not a lot of damage. So yeah, just praying for everybody, hoping everything is well. And yeah, just wanted to say that and remind you, if you are interested in joining Best College Aid, check out the link in our bio, 40% off, and you can join our Best College Aid family membership and have our guidance.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for your trust. We'll see you either inside the membership, either next week on our next week's live stream, but wherever it is, we're just excited that we'll keep on seeing you. So take care and stay dry.
Thank you.